You. Good morning. And I also want to go desktop to MSU. Admit. Spotlight for everyone. Admit. All right, we got about 6 minutes. Come down the hall, get a little bit more water, and then we're going to tear through some stuff and have some fun today.
Hey. Hey. Assuming you finished that assignment. Good.
Yep, got my butt up here to the library and got it turned in. Like it was like barely. No, it was right on time.
Right on time.
I think I had, because I remember being like, oh my gosh, like I only have like a couple minutes to finish this and I'm rushing to the end of it. But I think it's because I had class and I was doing it before class. So yeah, I think that's what happened. But because I just remember sitting there going, oh my God, I only have 3 minutes to turn this in. And I'm like, no, I had to go pick up my boyfriend from work. That's what it was. And he was like, hey, I'm out. I'm ready. And I'm like, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
For some reason, when I'm at home, I won't touch my homework.
It's hard for me to take my homework.
So anytime I have homework or assignments, I go straight to the library and I'm like, let me get this done because as soon as I get home, I'm on the couch, I'm snacking and I'm sleeping. So have you taken the test yet?
I'm waiting until my day off so I can actually focus on it.
I'm actually gonna go after my last class to the library and work on it because I'm like, I don't want to procrastinate this. If I keep procrastinating it, I'm just gonna keep getting intimidated.
There we go. All right, let's see. Reconnect. Make sure I on this.
I'm gonna
So today's gonna be a little different. I'm gonna post a quiz 4. Thought I had one. Hold on, let me take a look. Gosh darn it. Quiz 3, chapter 5. I do need to post a quiz 4. Thank you for that. I probably have one in here already, to be honest with you. I guess I don't. I just have the. That can't be right. It's on my computer then. I'll have to move that over. Give me probably, this is my last class in here for the next couple hours, so then I'll be back in here at 1. And so between now and 1, I'll get that next one out. And since I don't have it out, I might just make it a fun one where it's just expose you to the questions for those chapters kind of thing, because I thought I had that already out there. Sorry about that. But today's going to be a fun day because I'm going to show you some stuff. Let's see here. Password. See if it works. Never know anymore. That's going. Let's do this. Yeah, I'm actually gonna put that on my calendar to remind me, because otherwise, what'll happen between now and this class and the walk up to the office is I'll forget. Methods. 4, 6, and 7. I might have been floating behind on one because I was thinking this class, my in-person class, I had all of them set to where I was rotating back a little bit in case I need to roll any of them to in-person, or not in-person, but live quizzes, or for those who attend, I guess, what would you say? Online exclusively, but asynchronously, they would just listen to the video and then do it then. So I'd see if, hey, did you actually watch the video the whole way through? So I got that one. Oh, it is officially 11 o'clock. I'm going to move this over and I'm going to sit today. That's the right way. Nope, that's the wrong one. Oh, no. Now I'm on camera. I think that's bad. Boom. Now you guys are on camera. Not all of you, though. See why I picked that spot. Like, I am out of sight. Ain't no evidence of what I'm doing. And then she gives me 2 fingers. All right. So we got the first test we reviewed for last time. I think I got all that up on to everybody's what is that? Blackboard. Is that yesterday or the day before? Let me double check that real quick because I don't want to lie. I do enough of that already. Why is it not moving now? Yeah, apparently it doesn't like me now. There it goes. I'm making it do too much. Yeah, so I've got the most recent one out there. So that's got the review on it. Next up, here's what I'm going to do. There's one more thing I need to look at. It's from me to me. No, it wasn't to me. Syntax. I'm going to show you guys some stuff today. To syntax. That's the word syntax. Thesis data set syntax output. I think this is it. It's going to take it a while to remember. Did I have anything attached? No, I didn't. I don't have the data set for that one. I'll have to show you guys that data set later. Where did it go? Boop, boop, boop. All right. Zoom. Share screen. There we go. All right. So now you can see my screen a little bit. As of right now, it is 11:02. Welcome to class. If you have never seen this before, I think I mentioned this in here before, but if not, this is always really good to keep this in mind that we have a remote desktop. So if you're ever off-site, you have an internet connection, you need to get onto something that has computer functions, but whatever you're on may not have or may not have the access you need. This way is like logging into a computer that's physically here. And so you have access to the programs that are on here, which will have licenses that you might not necessarily have on your own computer, things like that. I use it because every now and again I'm on a computer that might not have the programs I need. The ones that come up the most frequently for will be this one right here. IBM Statistics. Of course, Excel will come up for data stuff. There's another one I use sometimes, but it looks like they didn't put another license on it for the remote computers. The mapping stuff, they typically use ArcGIS is what it's called, Geographic Information Systems. If you guys want more of that, though, that's actually the purview of geography. And so they've got more skills at that than I do. I'm a dangerous person with that one. I know enough to play, and I can show you guys that stuff pretty quickly. But what I'm going to show you is SPSS because we use that all the time. So I'm going to grab that while that's opening. Also download some things. So we have some data here on this remote desktop. The only problem with it, if you start using it for things, since it's not a physical computer, it doesn't read your hard drive. If you can copy and paste into it, but getting files into it and off it, you have to use your email is basically the go-between. And see what else was there. And that issue with files had the issue. Oh, you got a touch screen computer. That's another one. Sometimes that makes it go haywire. So if you ever are on like a touch screen computer or something like that, and it starts acting real funky, you'll have to log out, log back in, and then not touch the screen. So it'd be something you'd have to use like a mouse or a keyboard because it just doesn't know how to handle that. Next up, I need to go here, log back in again. That'll be the most common thing that you do. Logging in. That was a bad joke. Log in so many damn times. Look, it's gonna. I'm gonna have to send another text message. All right, let's see what this one is. Do. 444. See if that worked. Yay. Yay. Okay. All right. In my mail. Don't look in my mail. Me. All right. I'm going to download all of this stuff. Okay. So it's a fictitious data that's in here too. I'll move you guys off a little bit. Download these things. Or methods. All right, so I'll minimize this one. And we'll just drag these right over here and drop them on the desktop like you were just on your regular computer. All right. And we'll hold off on this part for now. So earlier in this semester, I had you go to some websites and pull some things. Here are a few other websites. If you look here, you can see them. Crime Data Explorer, that's if you're interested in UCR stuff, you can pull that stuff pretty easy. NIBRS is there too. NCVS, some of its data collection stuff's available over at the Bureau of, right here, the different questionnaires. So you can find information on that stuff here if you're curious about that. And then that's the one on health, if I remember correctly. But we're not going to get into that so much because I already had you digging around a little bit in terms of those that are missing. And then I'll show you this right here. So it's the decennial search. Your privacy matters. Okay, cool. So last time I had you guys digging into numbers. I had you guys pull some numbers like this. And I just grabbed one so I could show you kind of the information you guys were getting, which is good, right? This one, I just grabbed one of the ones for Arkansas. And so we've got names. Of course, the state's going to be the same across each. You have some dates here. Locations, right? Age, sex, race, hair color. Admit. So the first thing that I want you guys to think of, if you're going to try to get this kind of information to attach to something like this, right? Where you've got, here's some age, sex, race kinds of measures, that kind of stuff. The first thing you need to do is get them onto the same level. And so identifying what those levels are and making them match is really, really kind of a big thing. You know, I've got a whiteboard here. I might just write some stuff on this. I think, say, that's gonna be a text box. Yeah. And so we'll say, so if on one side you have, cannot type today, individuals, on the other side, you're dealing with, counties, right? And so we're trying to join those two things up. As we're trying to join those up, there's a few different ways to do it. And so there's easy ways, there's hard ways, and it really depends on the purpose. The easiest way is what I'm going to teach you guys first, and that's just simple aggregation. And so if you have individuals, each one of those is one. So the easiest thing to do would be to just add until it's going to count in the county, right? You add them up, and however many people are there in that county, that's your number for that time period, that kind of thing. So it's just simple summary measures. It's one of those things like the UCR itself. Let's say if every country in the world had a similar system as the UCR, you could literally just take characteristics about our country, attach it to those UCR numbers, and then take those similar measures for other countries and start comparing them to see what those differences are. And I'll also show you guys a little bit about what that looks like at different levels. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Get rid of that thing. Cool. And so you can see, get this thing out of here. Easy. As this thing was set up, this is the census. If I were to go back into data.census.gov, if I were to say county, pick your county. This one's near the top. No, not that one. Back. Arkansas, all counties within Arkansas. Boom. Tables. And so depending on my time frame, you can pick if it comes up. Sometimes it has some connection issues. And so there it goes. It's starting to come up. And so each of these are different sections of, or different years of census. So this is one for race, population estimates, American Community Survey. So you can see that there's multiple data sets that are in here. You can pull from multiple years. The one that I ended up pulling one from was, let's say this right here, down here. Then, of course, they're not in alphabetical order. No, stay on this thing because it's over here. VP1. We have the second page. And no, when the ACS stuff. So I'm going to just type in VP1. There we go. Now, if I go over here, I can say, I can download as Excel, CVS, a zip file. There are other ways to get even cite, print, that kind of stuff. Typically, what you want to do is download. Ooh, nice. I didn't know it had that function. That's a new one. So it'll actually transpose it for you, but I'm going to teach you how to do that as well. One of the things that you'll find as you're playing with data is that some forms are easier to read than others. The way that they set these tables up, they're set so you can read them pretty easily. You follow the kind of tabs kind of thing. When you download it, it'll look like this, where it's not quite as easy to read. It's a bunch of data. And another thing you'll notice is that, back over here. Nope, I didn't download it. Ooh, where is it? Download. So anytime you're delving into data, you need to kind of always keep in mind what you're dealing with, what it is you're doing, and how the stuff works. So we're always trying to find out where differences are, where things are similar, that kind of stuff. We're trying to find patterns. And so one thing that you always want to be careful with is that level of resolution. Here, you can see, we just looked at these population numbers. Right, those are all real people, real numbers. There's 419 people in age category 85 or older in Arkansas County. Right? Come over here and look, it's also got percentages there, 2.4%. Now, if I were to take the total number of people in there, multiply it by 2.4, is that going to come out exactly to 419? I don't know. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes they round those things. So we can check real quick. I'm pretty sure that's gonna be a rounding thing. Let's see real quick. Not that one. They want to click calendar. Get that off of there. Go to that. No. 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 Also no. Get out. I want a calculator, not calendar. I did it again, didn't I? Give me that damn thing. There's two calculators on here. That first one did not open. That one opened. Okay. So if we say right here, 17149 times 0.024. That does not align, right? So one of the things you need to keep in mind is if you have like a real hard, solid number, try to keep that around, right? If you have percentages, be aware of whether or not there are rounding errors involved, to what degree it is, that kind of thing, because that'll throw off your numbers as you start moving at scale a little bit. Yeah, that's one of those things that you'll want to pay attention to. And also, because I'm going to start teaching you how to do some math between these things, because it's really, really simple in some ways. What will happen is make sure that you're staying within the same kind of, I don't want to say framework, the same kind of section of variables, because you'll see some variables have names that are so similar, so close. But if you really look at the numbers, they're different numbers because they do different things. For example, if we start looking at total population here is listed as 17,149. Okay. We scroll down. Male population, female population, right? And so in this section, all of these numbers are going to be subsets of that male population. In this next one, all of these numbers are going to be subsets of that female population, right? You want to just figure out male to female. It has percentages in there, which is interesting because that's in the wrong category. They didn't give you the total numbers there. So you'd have to go through and select those here and here for those variables. If you wanted to have a measure that had an accurate percentage that's more accurate than that one, you would take those raw numbers, add them up, and then take one of those numbers and divide it, because whatever that percentage is, that will tell you both the percentage of males and females in that group, because you only use males and females to create those numbers. You start having a little bit more fun with this whenever you start getting into some of those areas where society's kind of, I don't want to say it's not, where society's kind of had to, I guess, reassess itself, whether it's the gender identity, sex identity, all that kind of stuff, or the race kind of stuff, because those things, what they add in more categories, which can increase variation. However, depending on your numbers, what you end up usually happening is you lose people out of your data sets, your survey, things like that, because they're too exceptional. There's only like, if you've got, we'll say 17,000 people in a county, if it's, what would you say, 1% of the population, it's almost 200 people. They would fall in that. If it's 10%, you're only talking about 1,000 people, not quite 2,000 people. And then so you're comparing 2,000 people versus what? Would that be a lot more, right? And so then the size differences can make those differences seem bigger than what they are. And so there's numbers across everything that can have an effect. Your groups are different sizes, which sometimes they are, sometimes you make them match. Their baseline rates are similar or different. So there's things to look at every single step. So we start with things that are very, very simple. That's why the methodology start out with, exploration and description, right? First thing you usually do for anything is you work on descriptives. Descriptives are those things I was telling you about earlier in the semester. It's like, you have this distribution. Here are the numbers associated with that distribution. What those numbers mean is that distribution looks like this. It's real sharp, or maybe it's just a slope downward or something like that. It will explain what that looks like. It identifies that if you know what those numbers are. And I can start to show you some of those things. with that. And that's going to be the way that this thing is all throughout. So like if you're interested in Hispanics, you want to know the Hispanic population, here's your total. Here's how many there are, and here's how many there aren't, right? So look at that. In this county, you've got 600 people who are, 16,000 who aren't. So you might pull out some distinctions from there, but you have that difference. It's the size there you have to keep in mind. It's going to be built into the analysis to address it, but always keep that in mind because it's dealing with something real at the same time you're dealing with these numbers. And there's more in here. Here's total population, those in households by type, that kind of stuff. Problem is this won't run in SPSS because of the way it's formatted, right? Whenever you set this up, you'd want to set it up like what you guys had. This over here, where you've got variables in the columns and cases in the rows. That's not what this is, right? So one of the things you'd want to do is transpose it, right? And so really helpful is they have a function right here to do that. I hadn't seen that before, actually. Usually what I end up having to do is I'll do something like this. So I went through and I took that spreadsheet, all the ones that had percentages, so there's only one entry per county. They're all counts. I got rid of all of those columns that had the percentages in there. You can keep them in there if you want, but that ends up doing is slowing the system down because there's more data for it to go through to handle when it's doing its analyses. So if it's extra, you don't need it, you can get rid of it, but always save your originals. From there, what you'd want to do is something like this. Grab, we'll see how much of it can take. We'll go to H. Go all the way down. Over here, paste, you'll have this right here, and transpose this right there. Boom. Now, you're getting closer to here are your counties, here are your variables. Still doesn't jive quite right. You can export this over, I should say import it into SPSS, and it'll be able to run some of these things. But realize that this isn't the cleanest way to have it. You'd want to get rid of some of these fields. You'd want to identify, well, where these breaks are, right? Because you can tell them by looking at it here. You won't be looking at the raw data once you get it in SPSS too much. You'll be looking at the results. And so you have to always make sure you kind of look at the raw data too. It's formatted appropriately and it'll read over. To do that, it's going to look like this. So this one, save, desktop. I'm going to say this one is a CVS. It's fine. Boom. Let's see if it did it right. Now, if you notice, two different symbols there, right? That's a distinction. Both of those run in Excel, but those are two different files types. This one's your standard XLSX. This is a CVS, comma save value. I think it's a comma delimited. And so what that looks like, I'll open this, and we'll open this one too. Okay, so this is the original one. I didn't save it. That's funny. Don't show again. Percentages, all that kind of stuff. It didn't save the right one, did it? Yeah, sometimes whenever you're playing with it, there it is, right there. We got 3 up. That's what it is. Boop, boop. Okay. So this is your Excel file. If you notice, you can do a lot of things with Excel. If I tell it I want to sum something, it'll do that, right? In that cell, it doesn't actually have those numbers. It has this formula. It does the math, right? So to some degree, you can look at Excel like it's each cell is a place to put a number. It's more like it holds more than just data. It can hold logic and can hold things like that. So Excel itself is quite a bit more powerful than most people use it for. They usually just use it to hold numbers. That comma save file, what this thing is, let me move out of this one. Of course, it's reoriented like what we wanted it, which is good. Don't get that off there. Yeah, it's moving real slow. The other thing is, since it's like internet connection, depending on how much stuff you're using on the internet, it'll really slow down. Since I'm piping out this through Zoom and I'm on so many different browsers, it's going to move a little bit slow. All right, let's do this. I'm going to close out of those for a second, see if that speeds it up again. Boop, boop. Don't save anything. What do you give me an error with? There we go. All right. This one, whenever I open it up in Excel, if I were to do the same thing here that I had done before, like let's say I want to do an auto sum of all of those numbers. It'll do it, right? I'm going to save. And if you look right here, it says sum, C2 through U2. I'm going to close out of it. We're going to open it back up. It no longer has that logic in there. Logic's gone. It's been replaced with the actual number, right? So if you're using Excel and you're using those formulas and things like that, if you copy and paste them, you may notice your numbers change if you're paying attention. It's because in Excel itself, or when you're doing the logic, anytime you move it around, it does this. I'm going to do that same sum again. So if I take this, Control C, boom, Control V. Those are all different numbers. It updates the logic itself. You don't have to go through and change all of that. However, if you want to keep those numbers and move that somewhere else, you can't just Control C, Control V, because then you still get different numbers. So you have to go back into that menu and tell it, I want the values, not the formula. And so that's why that comes up like that sometimes, if you guys ever use it and run into that. Since this is that, I'm going to save delimited file. Don't save. Don't save. Get rid of this. And now I'll show you something else. We're going to go, boom. Give me did I not have here we go. Notepad. Notepad's a good program because it'll show you what stuff is in its most raw sometimes. File, open, desktop, all files. Still has some characters in there it doesn't recognize. Those are going to be probably tabs, things like that. Each of those variables there is separated by a comma. That's how it saves the data. So in that file, this is literally what that data looks like. That's it. The program itself, when it reads it to make it look like this. If I do that same thing with the other program, see, I didn't save it up there. And Notepad. File. Open. All files. Let's see, that's going to be this one. That doesn't work. There's nothing of value there because it's tied into the programming, the coding of that program. And so it can't read that at all. Very dry. Yes, I know. Why it matters. When you start trying to move these data between different programs to do different things with it, some programs only accept certain file formats. SPSS is one nice one though, so it accepts most of those. Like it'll accept CSV files, it'll accept Excel files and all that kind of stuff. Whenever I was older than you all, it didn't do that. I had to actually tell it to. You'd have to program it to. That can look like this. So import data, say Excel data. Boom. Try to go over here. Assignment 1. Read Excel files, so worksheets. Let you select which worksheet, right? Range, you can tell it what range. Read variable names from first row of data. Data type. Ignore hidden rows and comments. Remove leading spaces, string values, and trailing spaces. I usually turn those on if we've got anything that's got like those census variables where there's a few spaces in there, so that way it could identify where there would, if it were an outline, there'd be a tab. It'll remove that so it just deals with the data itself. So it even gives you a little bit of a preview, right? And see what it looks like. Okay, let's see what it does. Did it work? Looks like it did, right? And so if I wanted to start doing this, let's say, how do I want to do this? Split file, compare groups. We're going to say, okay, analyze descriptives. Give me the frequencies for okay. Look what it did there. Female, 19. Male, 1. Male, 12. Okay. Why did it do that? Anything up with that? Let me make that a little bit bigger. Let's make it bigger. No, it doesn't. Just rolls me upward. No, I didn't help any. Get rid of that.
Is it because one of them's lowercase and
That's it exactly. That's it exactly right there. So a change in type font for this thing right here caused it to create a different category for that one variable, for that one entry. That should be combined with the other ones. So a typo, singular typo, to get it reclassified. You look at how the data is set up. There it is right there. We'll fix that real quick. Okay. We'll just rerun that same thing. Okay. There we go. 19 and 13. Black, white, Hispanic. Black, white, Hispanic. Starting to see some of those interesting breakdowns there. Hair color, you can see how those broken down. Okay, those are real numbers. Let's see here. Let's also look at this, and I think that'll do it. Location. I didn't mean to click that again. I was looking for location. I thought we had a location one in there. Arkansas missing since. And not, oh, is. There we go. Missing from. Oh. Okay, got a couple of repeats in there. Right? So we're going to look at aggregation. How would we start to aggregate this? One, we could use this to identify how many people went missing from these different locations. That's interesting. Why is that one was Texas? Right? And so if you look at it, you'll see things like that. That would need to be pulled out and identified what's going on with that. And you need to look at these counts, and if you can easily aggregate this where it's here's how many people went missing from these areas, you could do it that way. If we had more data, you could start building it into basically hierarchical modeling, where I've got the individual level data, maybe city level, county level, that kind of thing, and stack them that way. And so there's a few different ways to play with it. The easiest one by far is aggregation, because with that, I can take those numbers right here, and assuming I had the counties for each of those locations also here, so what we do is add in new variable, count, add that in, and then you would just use this variable to combine it with this other data set, which is, we would say, right, I'm gonna drop to the side. Boom. This one right here. Once you have that, you can start making comparisons across. Like if I start saying here, we'll say, oh, there's one more thing I wanted to show you before I get on to that. This thing right here. So this has two sheets to it, rather than just the standard one you'd see in Excel. You have your data view, which looks like Excel, variable view. What this does is it gives you all of your variable names, your types. Is it a number, comma, scientific, string is for words, letters, that kind of thing. And so it treats it a little bit differently. You can, whenever you set it, you can set how wide and how many digits, how many characters, and decimal points, that kind of thing. If I were to go over here and say this one right here, age. Right now it's listed as a nominal. Nominal's name. We know it's not name. Order or scale. It is an order, but those are real years. So interval and ratio for this system doesn't matter. They're treated both the exact same way, right? Since we know that one's age, we'll say that one's a scale. Come over here now. And now all those look that way, right? No difference here, just that simple change. What changed? The things I can do with it. I said this. Boom. That, make that a little bit bigger. Age. This is the age for now. Minimum from 7 to 54 for females, 6 to 62 for males. So your oldest case in there is going to be a male, right? And if we had age at the time of abduction, we could also run analyses on those, that kind of thing. Let's see here. I'm going to input this into a different thing. We'll get rid of that one for now. Next up, I'll show you. We can get rid of that. Yeah. Close. No. No. Let's see here. Boom. Usually I keep pin that to the bar. Open another file. You can do it this way too. And here it lists the different types. SPSS files, data files, output files, syntax files, Excel files. SAS is a different type of statistics program. Just go down here with all files. CSV, XLS. I'm going to take that CSV because it's easier. Boom. First line contains names and variables. Group leading, group trailing spaces, commas, decimal symbols, a period, text qualifier is a double quote, right? See, this looks just like what it did in the text or in the notepad when we looked at that. Okay. Open it up. And there you go. Did not read very well. Let's see what made it over. Oh, well. Right, shortcuts don't work here. Yeah. A lot of stuff didn't come over. So that didn't do so well. So you can do it that way. Didn't read well because of the formatting here. Change all of these because of the spaces and beginning numbers. That's why I changed all those to ats. Yep, it didn't grab. So you could do it that way, which is usually hits better than that. Let's try the other one. File, import data. We'll go with the Excel version. Desktop. Yep, that one worked better. Sad thing is like I said, some of those programs won't recognize Excel. So you have to know how to be able to move it through CSV if you want to use some other programs sometimes. Now all this stuff is in here. I would just have to reformat it and change it again. That takes a fair bit of time to do. So I'll show you where I've done that with other things. I haven't done that yet for this one. Here is one example. Right. So this is a different project we were working on. This one has 2019 through, keep going. Move this thing out of the way. Through 2020. Right? So you've got these percentages or these numbers across all these categories for a couple different years, which means now you can do math between them. You can see differences between things. What I'm going to show you is this. Get rid of this one. No. Open. Import. Nope, it's an Excel file. That's going to be right here. Same things. Okay. Now this one will look a little bit better. Boom. We have county names here. Crime indexes. These are for a few different years. And so what we did is here are the counts for people who had died of a specific type of drug overdose for this year, what percentage it represents, deaths for that year, percentage it represents, that kind of a thing, right? And so now we can start to look at this. Yeah. You can look at frequencies. Frequencies will tell you basically how many different people had what numbers. Like I said, deaths in 2019. Okay. 60 counties had 0, 11 had 1, only 1 had 18, right? If I went and did this, said, give me the frequency for instead of deaths in 2019, Give me the deaths in 2021. 33 counties had 0. One county had 84. Right, so you got to see a little bit of the spread here just by looking at the raw numbers. To be able to put something to it, we'll grab this and we'll say deaths 2020, 2019. No, it's 2021. Okay. Minimum, maximum, mean, standard deviations, right? That's mean is your central tendency, your standard deviations around it. If I add in a little bit more, skew and kurtosis. Okay. Boom. There are those measures for skew, how far off to one side or the other. This one's pretty high off in terms of, hey, it should be between positive and -1 be normal. This is well outside of that. Look at kurtosis. How tall does that thing get? Because we see it's tall and it's a drop off, right? How tall does it get? 1 to -1 is normal. This is 33. Well outside the normal. So it's a very concentrated issue, right? We start looking at the relationship between things. We've got 5 minutes. I'll show you that a little bit. We'll just do a quick correlation here between, we'll just say, deaths in 2019, deaths in 2021. We'll say, or it's just regular population. Make this a little bit bigger. Let's grab all the rest of them. How's that sound? Bing. Bing. Okay. So those two deaths, those are over 80%. Right? Deaths in 2019, deaths in 21. You're talking about measuring the same. We're literally measuring the same thing, just in 2 different time frames. That's a good thing, I guess, in this instance. One of those variables was constant. I gotta figure out what that did, because usually that pops up with other stuff. Analyze. Maybe I grabbed the wrong precursor. It's not running right. Moving back over that data view. Total population male. Compare means. Not compare means, correlate. I know what it is. So those variables are not coming in. Total population, male, female, the sex ratio, those types of things. Why is that? Here's why. That level of measurement again. It says it's nominal. Is it a string? No. It's a number. We'll say cancel. No, not that one. This one. We'll turn it into a number. Right now, whenever I go and say, okay, I want to correlate, reset these two, not those. I want the deaths. Deaths in 2019, deaths in 21, population. Good thing. Negative relationship to males. That's interesting. That population still didn't run right. So there's some type of error going on there. And so from there, it's a little bit troubleshooting, but you can start to see, are there relationships? Are they statistically significant here? These work because you're measuring the same thing. These weren't for the sex ratio. I've got to figure out why this number wasn't running, because that number is definitely not constant. So this is having some type of issue. I'm wondering if it's the remote access thing. But that is how you start to establish whether or not something is related. You pop it in there. What it does is it does that same thing that we were talking about in here in class. You find that measure of central tendency. From there, it's going to find out the spread for every individual record. It's going to create the deviate, the variation, identify what that standard is in that deviation. And then from there, it's going to make that connection between those relationships to your next concept. And then once you see how both of those flow and how they work together, you're starting to establish how things function. And then by the time you get done with this stage, because you'll have the description part where you describe its shape. This is correlation. After that, you move into regression, that kind of thing, where it's what's the likelihood you're going to fall into a category, or what's the likelihood that you're going to, what would it be, have a projected amount of growth or decay or things of that nature. So with that, we will pick up with this more next time. I'll show you a little bit more with this stuff, and I'll send you some outlines for how to run these programs a little bit in terms of handling it. And then we'll start playing with some stuff. Probably by the time we're in next week, I'll start sending some data files, start playing with. Cool? All right. Oh, I'm out of time. That's the buzzer. All right. Well, that's not my time. That's the time to get set up. I shouldn't take it, but with that, we will continue playing next time. You all have a great day. If you need anything, let me know. And let's see if I can get oh, by the way, I didn't show you guys this. This is whenever I was playing with dissertation stuff. So you can turn some variable, like you change variables. You can turn, like if it's a point scale, you can drop it down to where it's a dichotomous measure, things like that. I have some language in here where it turns string variables into numbers. That's actually pretty hard to do. And so that takes a fair bit of time. And if you'll notice, that set of syntax was like 30 pages long. It's like, don't do anything like that. We won't do anything that crazy. That's me. I won't make you guys do that. But we will play with that stuff a little bit. So, but with that, you guys have a great day. I'll catch you on Monday, and have a great weekend. Cool. All right. Happy Halloween.